Hey friends, it's Missy back with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a new layout for Hip Kit Club and I'm using the 2018 September kits today. And I'm going to be focusing a lot on these thickers. I want those to be the focal point of my layout today. And I'm also going to use a lot of the color kit, which includes these really cute Vicki Boutin stamps. And I'm going to be stamping them with some of the shimmers that we got in the color kit. So first thing I'm going to do is use white cardstock as my background, and I want to coat it with clear gesso. And this is going to allow all of my colors to run and blend and sort of bleed together without soaking through right to the cardstock. And this is the double thick white cardstock. It's smooth, and we get that in the cardstock kit. Now I'm going to use this month's color kit as well as a few other colors from previous kits. And so I'm just going to kind of spray some color down on some plastic and smush the stamp into it and then smush it down onto my paper and create some messy watercolor-ish looking flowers. Now they're not going to be perfect because it's obviously liquid ink or liquid color. It's not an ink pad, and so I want them to look like this. I want them to look kind of messy and what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of splotchy, and you can still tell that it's a flower, but it's not perfect. And I want it to look kind of messy like that. So I'm using the mustard seed from this month, which is the yellow spray, and the Spritz Cotton Candy, as well as Spritz Ruby. I don't remember which month we got the Spritz Ruby, but it's a darker, deeper pink. And I'm also going to use the Well Blew Me Down. I think that's from last month. And also the purple from this month, which is the Wisteria Lane. So I'm just trying to get some really pretty springy, even though it's fall, springy colors on my background here. And I'm wind up creating sort of this vertical cascade of just messy, splotchy, stamped flowers. And here's the purple, and it is so shimmery. And once this is all dry, I'll hold it up to the camera and so you can see all of the shimmer. I believe all of the colors that I'm using here, except the aqua color, have shimmer in them. And you can kind of see the stripes of where the gesso dried, but I kind of like that. I always wind up seeing my gesso streaks in my mixed media on the background, and I like it because I think it adds a little more interest and texture and just makes it look a little more messy. So I like how this is looking. I like how some of the flowers, like the very first time I stamp it, it's going to have the most color and look the most kind of splotchy. And then when I stamp it again, you know, there's obviously less color on the stamp, and so you're going to be able to see more of the actual flower lines. And so you could really get some cool looks doing this. And it would be cool to go over these stamps with maybe a black ink pad to really sharpen up the edges. I'm not going to do that because I want it to look just kind of like splotchy flowers, kind of messy and running together. So I'm adding some splatters as well, and yeah, I just had fun creating this background. I don't know if you've ever tried stamping with liquid color like this, but get a really, really cool effect. So I'm printing out 3 photos, black and white. Of course, they're cute selfies of me and my daughter. And I thought I was going to, you know, just kind of stack them one on top of the other and create sort of a vertical, keep going with the vertical idea here. I'm going to take a break here in a second and then come back and see things differently, and I'm going to change my mind. I did decide to add in some of the darker blue that we got last month, the Oaky Bear Blue Inklings, because there is a darker blue color in those thickers. And so, you know, you can kind of see the flowers, but it's kind of getting messier as I go with all the splatters and all the colors. And it doesn't matter to me that you can't really tell that it's necessarily flowers, but I do like that you can still see some of the floral detail in there. But I like the messy factor. I like the way it looks. So I'm going to wind up turning it this way, and so all of that color is up at the top. So it's going to wind up being a horizontal layout or design, and then I'm going to do a horizontal row of my 3 pictures, but I don't want the bottom half of the layout to be solid white. So instead of using the packaging technique, this is another option, is to use your stamping block. Just stamp your color on it and then smush it down. You can smush it and drag it, or just kind of tap it and tap it and tap it. You're going to get a totally different look than if you were going to use packaging. I know it's not a huge difference, but it's definitely different, and it's a little more controlled, I think, because the color's pretty much going to stay under the block, and it's just something fun and something different to do, and you can wipe it right off of your stamping block. This is probably why my stamping blocks are dirty, because I use them for a lot of different things, and I've had them for so long, and you know how I am. If it works for me, I'm gonna keep it as long as I can, and yeah. Anyway, so you can kind of see the difference between the flower stamps and the bottom with the stamping block. Here's where I'm going to turn it, and you can see the shimmer. The purple is really the most shimmery because it's the original Shimmers paint, and it's got loads of shimmery powders in there, and it's so nice and thick, and it just dries like glitter explosion. It's so pretty. Okay, so now I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do next, and I want to use that Pink Fresh Studio Indigo Hills 2 chipboard frame. Since my photo actually fit underneath it, I'm going to use it on the center photo, and then just put the other two photos kind of beside it like that. And so that's going to be my design of where my photos are going to go. And then I went to Pinterest, because Pinterest is the best place to get quotes, and I've gotten a lot of my ideas for quotes when I want to use a big title or a long title. Pinterest is my go-to, because all you have to do is type in something related to what kind of quote you want, and you're going to get so many ideas. And within 2 minutes, I think I typed in, what did I type in? I don't even remember what I searched for. Love quotes or happy girl quotes. Just something related to my pictures. I knew I wanted it to be something about happy life, happy times. I think I typed in happy girl, and I found the cutest but most simple quote. And being happy never goes out of style. As soon as I saw that, I thought, I have got to use that as my quote. And it's going to be perfect because it's nice and long, and it's going to allow me to use up a lot of these thickers and get a multitude of color on there. And I did check to make sure I had enough of each letter. I had just enough E's. So definitely check your, if you're going to use thickers, make sure you have enough letters for the quote. But yeah, I like how that's going to look. And so I'm just going to sort of center it down there underneath the pictures. Now that is just some adhesive foam that I have in my stash that I use quite frequently to add dimension and height to things. I almost always use it underneath my photos, and then a lot of times I'll use it under embellishments also. Now I did glue down the thickers, and then I stitched through them with just a straight line with white thread to make sure they're not going to go anywhere. Always make sure you add glue whenever you use gesso, because things don't stick. Now here's where I almost messed up the layout. I wanted the bottom half of this flower stamp down at the bottom, and since I had added the thickers already, my stamping block would not let me stamp it flat. So I had to take it off and just sort of use my hand. I had this idea of adding more pops of black on the layout since my photos are black and white, and so I stamped that. I wanted the bottom half of the flower, and then I was going to use that little piece that I had left over that's the scallops, that's the darker purple color, kind of overlapping it, kind of centering the bottom of the design. And then I thought, well, I need some more, so I kind of pulled up the two side photos and stamped, and I'm actually going to wind up covering most of those up, so you're not even going to be able to see them. But I think it turns out in the end, I thought I had really screwed everything up with that stamp at the bottom, but it's okay in the end, I think. I just added some black splatters. That is also a Shimmers, not from a color kit. That's one that's in my stash. I use it all the time. It's called Night Moves, and it's just your basic black ink. So I went through all the embellishments, and I picked out a couple things from Pink Fresh Studio to use. I'm going to use this sticker here. It says, "This is how magic feels," and I cut the G so the G could overlap the top of the picture there. And I know you saw it, but I forgot to say it because I was probably blabbing about something else, but I added parts of a Project Life card behind the two end photos to add a little pop of that turquoise aqua color. And so I'm going to add that little sticker at the top, and the G is going to overlap because it's nice, big, and long there, and I like the way that looks. And then I'm just going to kind of sort through the puffy stickers and the phrase stickers and just kind of see what matches and see what looks good where. I don't really have a lot of space left over to heavily embellish, and that's a good thing about, well, it's not good or bad, but it's whenever you have, you know, bigger pictures or a lot of pictures and you have a big title, and you can kind of see that that takes up the majority of the page. And so there's only a couple spots left to add extra embellishments. And so you kind of don't use a whole lot, or you have to kind of pick and choose of what looks good where and not overdo it. And so I do add a couple of pieces of a floral die cut from Pink Fresh Studio that I just cut in half, and that little sticker over on the left. And then I added another half of a floral die cut down at the bottom. So I did cover up some of that black stamp, but you can still see it peeking through, and I like how that looks better. I did add a little piece of foam right there underneath that circle, as well as some pink thread. I wanted to pull out some of that hot pink color that is in a couple of the letters. So I did that with thread, and I'm going to do that on both sides. And I know I say this, I feel like a broken record. I say this on almost every video, but the thread is, I know some people are okay with it, some people don't like it, and hey, everybody has their own tastes and their own preferences, but I like to use it in instances like this when I need a pop of a color somewhere on a layout and I don't have anything else in that color to use. So the thread is easy, it's cheap, I can cut it up, tangle it up, stick it in there, and then you've got the color, and it's right there, and it adds just the right amount of color. I decided to incorporate some of the washi tape that we got this month. I'm going to use this purple roll and the mustard yellow color, and I just took a strip of cardstock here, just kind of from my stash, just some spare from a piece of paper that I'd already cut on. And I'm going to load it up with a couple of strips of these two colors, and I'm going to do, I'm going to add this on either side of the layout. I'm going to kind of cut a little chunk out to make it kind of uneven and wonky, and then kind of ruffle up the edges with my edge distressor and kind of tuck the washi tape underneath it. So it's kind of like just a little pop of color and texture and pattern kind of popping through on the edges there. And I love to do this a lot of times. I haven't done it in a while, but I like that it just gives something to the edge of the layout, and you know, you can cut it even, or you could use border punches. I just kind of like to cut it crooked and ruffle it up, and it looks wonky and crooked, but that's just me. But there are lots of different ways you could do this. So I'm going to do the purple on the right and the yellow on the left there. And I wasn't sure if I was going to do the top and the bottom also, but I don't. I just leave the top and the bottom as is and just do the sides. And then once that dried, I ran my sewing machine, or I ran this through my sewing machine on this, just on the edge there with some black thread. And so that's going to stay put. And then I pulled out these Vicky Bouton thickers. They're so adorable. I haven't really used any yet on a layout, any of the words, but I am going to use some of the little black hearts, and they're puffy and shiny and so cute. And this is going to add a couple extra pops of black to the layout. And I don't wind up doing any journaling on this because, number one, I didn't really feel like I needed to. It was just some cute selfies, and I feel like the quote says it all. And I didn't really have any space for it. So most layouts I do journal on, but this one I just felt like it was fun and cute, and the title said it all. I do add the date, though, at the bottom. But yeah, there's the final page. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I loved putting it together. I was inspired by those stickers. I hadn't used those yet, and I thought I have got to use those on a layout, and I definitely want to make them the star of the page. And so I felt like using a big quote like this did the trick. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you have any of the any questions about the kits or the techniques or anything at all. And thank you guys so much for checking out our videos on the Hip Kit Club YouTube channel. So yeah, have a great week, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.